What's happening? How y'all doing? What's been going on? What you been doing since the last podcast? Tell you what I've been doing, editing these damn podcasts. In any case, I've got a cool episode today. I went to a show to see the awesome Adam Betts play drums in Three Trap Tigers alongside my buds in local band Bangladeshi, and was fortunate enough to catch Macias in his band YOINK, which is also based out of Brooklyn. And he is just quite a drummer, and I really thought it'd be interesting to talk to him about his influences and what's been going on in his life leading up to this point, and living in New York, and you know, all the good things in life, drumming, all the good drumming stuff, basically. But it was super cool talking to him. I figured from watching him that there was a Zach Hill influence, so we got to talk about him, and apparently he was in a band where he actually had to play some of Zach Hill's stuff. So I'm sure that, coupled with just his own influences and interest in improvising and trying to create grooves out of it, and just creating something kind of a little off kilter but still in and straddling that line, that really appears to be something that he seems to do pretty damn well. So it was super cool picking his brain, and we got to talk about a lot of really cool stuff, not the least of which was Mahavishnu Orchestra being the gateway band from rock to jazz, which I would totally agree with. And the importance of listening to Hendrix when you smoke weed. He's one of the best. He's one of the best regardless, but he's super awesome as well if you smoke weed, is all I'm saying. In any case, there you go, y'all. So let's get weird. Zoinks! Doink! Yoink! Crash, bang, boom! I'm here with Macias, not Macias, not Gracias.
I get it a lot.
Gracias? Gracias?
Gracias.
Macias. That's a good name, man. I like that.
Oh, thanks.
What's your middle name?
Griffin.
Griffin?
Yeah, Griffin.
Mason Griffin Macias?
Mason Griffin Macias.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Who came up with your last name, obviously, your father's, so...
Yeah, my middle name is actually my mom's maiden name, so...
Really?
They just made it really simple.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Normally with the Latin world, you would get a middle name and then you would get your mother and your father's last names anyway. They just didn't give you a middle name. Well, they did, but it's, yeah, they're mixing it up.
Yeah, my mom's like 200% white, so like we did not follow any of that kind of form at all.
What's your mother's lineage?
It's mainly Irish and like British.
Okay.
So, yeah. A lot of that.
So you have some, and originally you're from Texas.
That is correct.
Whereabouts in Texas?
I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was there for quite a bit of time, but I also consider myself a California boy because I grew up in Petaluma, California, which is like Northern California, right above San Francisco.
Awesome.
So I had a lot of my formative years. That's actually where I started like learning drums and all that kind of shit.
Oh yeah? Did you study with some people? You strike me as someone who might have, but you have an unorthodox nature, which I was like, this could be either or. That's a coin toss here.
Well, ever since I started playing drums, like I met some friends. I had just moved to California, so I was like a year. I was like in 7th grade.
What prompted the move to California?
My dad just got he found another job. Like one of his friends went out to California, and he was like, "Oh shit, let's just like go and like check it out."
Okay.
So we're out there, and I met some friends. They started playing music, and they asked me, they're like, "We need a drummer. Do you know how to play drums?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know how to play drums. I've never played drums my whole entire life."
Are you serious?
Totally serious.
Whoa.
And they sucked really bad, so we all stuck together and like learned.
Yeah.
But at that point, when I told my parents, I was like, I am going to be playing drums. They're like, "Okay, we'll get you drum lessons." So since the beginning, I had always had some kind of formative lessons.
Oh, that's cool.
Besides like whatever I decided to do.
Yeah.
So.
Did you go to school for it, or did you just?
I did. Yeah, in San Antonio, I went to the University of Texas at San Antonio.
Okay.
So there, I did mainly just like classical stuff, but
really like symphonic, like timpani and shit.
Yeah,
and reading charts
I had to like learn timpani. I had to learn, playing vibraphone, marimba, all that kind of stuff.
So do you feel like you have a pretty good melodic ear that was developed from playing melodic percussion, or?
Sort of, yeah. I'm like definitely the weakest of my class at the time. So
yeah.
But it definitely helped. I learned a lot going there. So.
Nice. When you first started playing in bands and stuff, what kind of stuff were y'all playing when you got together with your buddies and you were learning how to play initially?
Oh man, we were into just like really pop punk, like AFI, early AFI kind of stuff. But then somehow we made this crazy leap into like more psychedelic rock. So we were like going back to the classics. Like we all had like Jimi Hendrix tie-dye shirts and like doing a ton of jam band kind of things. And so nothing ever like solid as far as the songs went. So it was just like more improv and like jam, and then we started getting more jazz stuff. So
gotcha.
That's kind of where we came from.
Yeah, I played in a Jimi Hendrix tribute band, and we played. I need to find the recordings. I swear to God, I think we played 32 Hendrix songs.
Holy shit!
It was like 2 16-song sets.
Oh,
it was crazy. Yeah, the guitarist was like, "Dude, I've been learning this shit my whole life. Like, I know a bunch of it." I was like, "All right, you're the guy for it," because it's not like someone's gonna say, "Yeah, give me some time to learn all these." Like, he played a lot of it note for note at times. So it was.
Damn.
Yeah, it was.
That's a lot of work.
And you know what? It gave me an appreciation for the Hendrix stuff, and I had always loved the Hendrix stuff. I remember when I first got my first Hendrix tape. I got RU Experience from a pawn shop, and I got the cassette tape, and I popped it in the car with my dad, and we were listening to it, and I was just like, this is so bizarre. It was like nothing I'd ever heard before. You know, it was like mind melting. And then later on, like the first time I smoked weed, I was like, I'm going to go back and listen to that Hendrix shit. Then I was like, what the fuck? Especially like, you know, I mean, they were doing that on like 4-track recordings and bouncing it down, and it's super panned and like shit spins around, and like it's super psychedelic, you know?
Dude, definitely. The first time I ever smoked weed, I was listening to Power of Love by Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's like, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel like if you're going to smoke weed for the first time, for those of you listening, assuming anyone listening to this hasn't smoked weed before and they're thinking about smoking it, definitely listen to Hendrix. That's the moral of that story. That's amazing, man. So then post, I guess after playing with that initial band and everything, you is that when you ended up going to school and doing all the collegiate academic stuff?
At the very tail end of high school, I went back to San Antonio. My parents were like, just wanted to get closer to family. We didn't really have any family in California.
Yeah.
So, but right out of there, once I went to UTSA, started doing more of that kind of stuff and trying to get acclimated into the scene there, you know?
Yeah.
Since I had... You know, in California, we never really played out very much. So it was just like we just loved playing and jamming and just doing it for ourselves. And then once I got to San Antonio, I had to kind of like enter the community actually, you know, instead of just like being isolated.
How did that go? Was it well received? Did you feel like you were at a good place to get out and gig and do that?
Yeah. For the most part, it took a while, but I eventually became a music slut.
Yeah.
So I was playing in like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 bands and just doing a bunch of different kind of shit, just getting out there, and
it's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of kids that probably can go down the wormhole of the internet and YouTube, et cetera, and watch stuff and just practice at home, but never get out and actually try to apply it. And you get a much better sense when you actually try to apply it of that, like maybe some of this shit that I've been practicing in these isolated environments really doesn't work.
Yeah, dude.
You know, you can go
out there, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's wise. That was a wise thing. I definitely went through my little gig whore phase as well, where I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'll take it.
Yes,
How am I going to balance it out? Like, and that was like pre-internet, I feel like, when I was really doing it. So I would sometimes like write down in a physical calendar, and then I'd be like, oh shit, where'd I put the calendar? You know, it was hard to even just manage it, you know?
Oh, I imagine. Yeah. I used to feel like pre-internet would be way harder to manage, especially for that kind of shit.
It is. Yeah. I mean, you got just having cell phone reminders and shit like that. It's like, it feels like such a different world. It's fun to talk to younger people who didn't really experience that. I mean, I talked to older guys that toured and stuff, and we just laugh like old men. Like, we used to, well, 2 things. Gas station attendants used to have to know a lot more about the place they lived because people were always stopping there to get fucking directions.
Yeah, that's very true.
And it was just like payphones. You would call the place. You would write physical, directions down, and then be like, oh shit. Once again, like, where's the paper? Oh, we got to stop and talk to the gas station attendant. And generally they'd be like, right, and then you'd have to write another set because you couldn't fucking remember all the
working memory had to actually work.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But that's the thing. Yeah, you couldn't have a phone just put you on autopilot and direct you right to the fucking stop.
Yeah, I know.
It is nice though. I gotta say, it's nice to turn. Now that I'm here, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of sweet. Fuck all that get lost shit.
Yeah, you could like see. I remember having to do like use a highlighter and do a map or what on the shit and like just know your way.
Yeah.
But I only for a brief period of my life did I know that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You mentioned getting into jazz. What kind of jazz stuff were you getting into when you started dipping your toes in it?
Yeah. My friends in California, we really were trying to cultivate. Try to move out of like rock stuff. So one of my good friends, Diego, was just getting into like Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers.
Art's fucking great.
So we were like listening to just a lot of the great classics from like that era and like, Miles Davis, mainly I guess like the
quintet era or like the electric stuff or
Miles Smiles, the quintet. Yeah. Dude, that shit's crazy.
Miles Smiles and Milestones are two of my favorite. They're different eras for him, but those are two of my favorite records.
Those are amazing.
Yeah, Miles Smiles, Tony Williams playing on that is incredible.
Cooking with gasoline, dude.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Have you ever heard 4 and More with him, the live stuff?
No.
Oh my god, dude, I'm gonna play you some of that after this podcast.
Hell yeah.
That's like Tony Williams before. Is it George Coleman? I'm spacing on it. It was before Wayne Shorter became the saxophonist, but it's basically the quintet prior to Wayne Shorter on sax. And Tony Williams, I think he's like 18 years old, and he's blazing, like more so than you've ever heard him blaze. And it's live. It's fucking ridiculous.
Wait a second. I think
4 and More, man. I'll play you some of the stuff.
Maybe I remember I used to always go on to like drummerworld.com and see a ton of videos, and I think I'm under the impression there was one of him playing with the quintet, but I think Wayne Shorter was there, but he looked hella young, dude.
Yeah.
He was like
he was super young when he joined the band. Did you read Miles Davis' autobiography?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you haven't? Oh my god.
It's pretty good.
Yo, you got to read it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I love autobiographies.
I do too, man. Yeah. He says motherfucker, the word motherfucker, more than any in history, I think, of any autobiography. This motherfucker, that motherfucker, like every word seems like it's a motherfucker.
On the page.
Yeah, and he's like, it's wild. And then from just charting his whole life, up into the electric phase and his influences at the time and fucking heroin addiction and kicking it and like... Yeah. But then, and just, of course, hanging with all the jazz greats and the stories that he has about running into all them and, like, just drug deprivation. And that
sounds great.
Yeah, it's an incredible autobiography. Wow. Yeah, it's really good. So any other people in particular that you were getting into?
Yeah, we started getting, there was another one that pops out to me is Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So we were like, since we played a lot of rock, but, like, we were getting into jazz and we were, none of us were very traditional jazz players.
Right.
It's like Mahavishnu was like kind of a good, stepping stone to understand a little bit more since it had the rock stuff.
Absolutely.
Incorporated in, and Billy Cobham just like,
whoa.
I've always been drawn to like more aggressive drumming. So, immediately I was attached to the way he was like hitting. I've never heard that any rock drummer ever play like that.
He's a lefty too, just like you.
Yeah, he plays open-handed, right?
Oh,
yeah.
no. Or is he lefty or does he just play open-handed?
I think he's open-handed. I saw him play or do a drum clinic years ago, but I remember that being a prominent thing there.
Okay. Yeah. The first record that I heard of Mahavishnu was Intermountain Flame.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
That was the first one, and my buddy Mike Ogden, a good friend of mine, drummer who I loved going to see when I was growing up. He told me the funniest thing, and I had no reference point for what they did or who they were. And when he told me, I was like, Mahavishnu Orchestra, what the fuck is that? But he's like, dude, it's the best punk rock record ever.
Wow.
And I was like, so I was thinking that it was gonna be some weird orchestral punk rock thing, like because orchestra, I don't know. He said punk rock, and then I heard it, and I was like, I wasn't ready at all for that. And Billy Cobham's playing was fucking huge.
Fuck me up, man.
Yeah,
fuck me up.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it fucked everybody up. I'm pretty positive of that because pretty much every drummer that I could think of that plays any kind of like progressive / sort of heavy note filled / whatever you want to call it. I'm pretty sure at some point or another they were listening to some of the shit that guy was playing.
Had to, yeah.
Wow.
Definitely.
Yeah. Did you ever get into like really like far out kind of free jazz stuff?
Not really.
Yeah, I've been more of an in guy myself.
Yeah, mainly it's been, it's not until recently that I've been starting to dabble a little bit more, but I still haven't like found my like records.
Right.
But like I'm getting a little bit more open now.
Yeah.
Than I was then.
Yeah. Speaking of, I mean, an interesting one that is out but has Tony Williams, tying back to Tony Williams. Did you ever get into Eric Dolphy's Out to Lunch record?
No.
Oh, it has melodic percussion on it as well.
Oh, cool.
And
okay.
Tony Williams is playing on it, and it's out, but it's like spacey and fucking weird. He plays bass clarinet. The instrumentation is weird. It's a super, every now and then I'll just throw it on because it's not too, so totally over the top, but it's spacey and fucking weird. Oh, and then Eric Dolphy also did more like Outward Bound was a more like in sort of, a parent form of a song, head, solo section, etc. So it was pretty traditional. But that's one.
I gotta, yeah. We're gonna make a list before I leave.
Yeah, we'll make a list. So we're jumping around. At which point did you, with all these sort of like, I guess starting with punk rock and then the jazz stuff, do you feel like to this day the punk rock attitude of those formative years have kind of stuck with you? Because that's something that I hear in your playing.
Yeah, definitely. It started. I think I kept a lot of that because of a couple different groups that kind of embody that like punk rock feel, but it's
what are some of those?
So like, I mean, we were like, just being from Northern California, like you just like inherently love Primus. So so like a lot of that was there. And Primus has always kind of had like a little punk kind of feel in there.
Absolutely.
But to take it a step farther, like a band like Hella, like Zach Hill.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The second I saw you, I was like, I bet this dude has listened to some Zach Hill.
Definitely. That guy rips, man.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of my favorite drummers to listen to.
Yeah.
And he's kind of always had just kind of like a fuck it mentality of just like going hard to the paint, but also being, complex to it.
Yes.
There's a complexity to it. So that's always like really fun to me.
Man, I saw Hella like, God damn, it must have been, they were only an album or two into it, so it might have been 14 years ago or more.
Oh, okay.
It was a long time ago.
Damn.
And I remember watching him and thinking a couple of things. One, I was like, I feel like he's going to have a heart attack. Two, I was like, for a guy that plays so many notes so frequently, just a bombardment of crazy notes, his form is super fucked up. Like he has a tendency to kind of hunch over and just, at least at that phase, with him playing in Hella, he was just kind of hunched over and just blasting notes. And I was just like, dude, he was also as thin and as ripped. He had zero fat on him, and he would play with his shirt off. And I was just like, dude, of course he looks like that. Like he's fucking playing. It was just insanity.
It's insane. And he's like so fucking tall too.
Is he?
Yeah, he's like really tall.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm really short, so I don't know.
I was like, I don't think he's taller than me necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he's gotta be like.
Fuck that. Zach Hill's shorter than me. I'm saying it for the record. Y'all can fuck off.
Heard it first here.
That's funny.
But yeah, that dude rips and has kind of, for me, showed me a different way of like playing drums.
Absolutely.
I mean, Billy Cobham has a very similar feel to me in the sense of like Mahavishnu. So it was easy for me to latch on there.
I think the difference the distinction that I would make, at least to my ear, between Billy Cobham and Zach Hill is that with Billy Cobham, you would hear some of those spurts more so in fills, but he would play sort of more standard quote unquote grooves in those sections, whereas Zach, at least as far as his work with Hella, was definitely, it was just blasting. It was
all the time.
It was all the fucking time.
Yeah, 100.
It was crazy, but if you could really sit there and listen to it and try to figure out what he was playing, and it also made it a little more complex because it was just a duo, so then the guitar was playing its own thing. Whenever I would hear them, I was like, I wish there was a bass player to sort of anchor this thing so I would have a reference point to what the fuck Zach is playing. Because I would hear it and I would be like, I could never quite figure it out. You sound like you sat down with it for a good while.
It's overwhelming at first, definitely, and it took me a while to really appreciate Hella stuff. First time I heard Zach play was like in freshman of high school.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't until in college that I was like more into it, and just, I guess, pushing the boundaries of like what you can do, like notes or whatever, kind of helped me. And I just kind of fell into that, like always wanting to be able to do a little bit faster, like double kicks and stuff. And he's like the only dude out there that's just like killing it on that front.
Oh, his right foot's fast as hell.
Yeah. So like to hear some of those ideas and then me getting lessons, I could like kind of pick out.
Were you able to bring some of that stuff to a teacher and ask them at times, like, what is that? Or...
I never did with Zach, but I would do it with like other guys. Like I remember one time I took the song Actual Proof by Herbie Hancock, Mike Clark. I took that song to my teacher. And
oh, that's awesome. Mike Clark's fucking awesome.
Dude, he's so crazy. And like, I remember trying to transcribe at least the first like 8 bars, which is just hard because he's just improvising, you know? Right. And as a kid, I was just like, no, I gotta fucking like learn it to the T.
Note for note, sure.
You know, and then it wasn't until later I figured out, you know, it's like, okay, well, it's just like, learn the licks a little bit, you know? It's not really exactly what he's doing, it's the feel.
Yeah.
You know, it took me a while to figure that kind of shit out.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen Mike Clark quite a few times because he would come through New Orleans pretty frequently and do like random sort of pickup bands with killer guys. I saw one in particular where he had Charlie Hunter, who is an amazing player. Have you ever seen that guy play?
No.
He has this bass/guitar thing where he plays bass and comps chords almost as if it's 2 people playing. So he was that guy. There was Skerrick, who was the saxophonist in Critters Buggin', who was killer. There was some percussionists, a bunch of different people, and that show was fucking incredible. Wow. I also saw him with the Headhunters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was totally badass. But like you said, I can't imagine transcribing something like that because a lot of what he does, that's sort of the jazz improvisational element of what he does. It's you know, it's funky but he's a jazz player kind of at heart, you know. So I don't know, take it. That's kind of what I always took from it. I was like, I'll listen to sort of the idea of what he's doing and then I'll improv it.
Yeah, and that's usually the best way to do it too. Is like, you know, I mean, there's times when you want to like learn it something exactly, but to take your own spin off of it, just kind of have like a blurred vision of it, and then just like be like, I kind of know, and then just like create, you know, be more creative with it. And so, but Mike Clark's one of those guys, dude. He's got his own language, and he's able to freestyle off of it, and it's crazy. Yeah.
So you've never been able to see him live?
No.
Really?
No,
oh man, you got to go check him out sometime.
He's still playing out.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Oh yeah.
Then I need to like go check that shit.
Yeah. He's great. He's a fucking character, man. He's Mike Clark, awesome. Any other fusion sort of era bands that you got into? Mahavishnu was really one of the only ones. I mean, I got into like, I guess it's more prog rather than fusion. But like the Yes and King Crimson stuff with Bill Bruford playing, like I definitely geek out pretty heavily on that shit.
I would
that
fuck
stuff
with that.
Too gets super psychedelic and crazy.
Yes was like a big inspiration when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And so was King Crimson.
Yeah.
Just like anything that Bill did, at least in the rock realm, I could like really get into.
Yeah.
So yeah, that dude is crazy. It's fucking crazy.
So at some point you went Texas, California, back to Texas, and then in New York?
Yeah.
So how long you've been in New York for? Just 2 years?
Yeah, I got here in 2015.
What prompted the move to this fucking ridiculous city?
Well, I was playing with Marnie Stern. I was playing drums for her live band, and she lives up here. So I would come back and forth a lot to New York City, and I'd been in contact with this band Noxious Foxes, which those two dudes are my bandmates in the band I'm in now, YOINK.
Okay.
So we would always hang out, and after a while, I was just like, I was telling my girlfriend Sarah, I was like, we should just like, if we're gonna get out of San Antonio, let's just go big and just come to Brooklyn and like hang out with Richie and Justin, and like we'll like make music and stuff. And,
That's super cool.
And I kind of like, those dudes showed me a really nice, amazing side of the city.
Yeah.
You know, it's always important to have good friends and like see it right. So,
Oh yeah, if you would have just come in blindly, it's like,
like,
where the fuck do you start?
Exactly. So those guys showed me a lot of shit, and was really stoked to do something musically with them. So that's kind of where it all sparked.
So as a trio, YOINK obviously a trio. The other two guys, those are the guys from Noxious Foxes?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't put that together.
Yeah. So Richie, who plays bass in YOINK,
Yeah.
plays drums in Noxious Foxes.
Okay,
And
weird.
then Justin kind of does the same instrumentation in both groups.
Really?
Yeah.
How did YOINK come together?
We were gonna do like 2 drums and Justin playing guitar and keys, but like Richie had wanted to make music, so we tried to do that, and then Richie's like, all right, why don't you just play drums and I'll do bass and shit. And I guess he kind of felt that worked better for his mind, and we just kind of went from there as far as the instrumentation went.
Interesting, man.
Yeah.
I have realized that while that could be an acronym, YOINK that is, you could also be, as opposed to what your record is named, Yosemite, Oklahoma, Indiana, Nebraska, Kansas.
It could, right? I forget what.
I was like, damn it, there's no state that starts with a Y. Fuck.
Yeah, for sure.
I did good with the other ones. What's the name of your record again?
Yankee, Oscar, India, November, Kilo. I did it. Yes. You feel so good after you fucking remember it.
I know. I was like, I'm gonna try it, and I looked at it. I was like, I'm not gonna fucking remember this. Did the band name start with just random names, and then that became an acronym, or vice versa, or
Yeah,
like?
shit. Yeah, it happened with, what is it, onomatopoeias? Like,
Yeah.
that's where the word sounds like the
That's
meaning,
right.
right? So
Yeah.
we were like, Justin always likes to think of these like kind of funny themes for names, and so we started there, and then we landed right on YOINK.
Nice.
Yeah. YOINK.
Yeah, it's good. I say the word doink a lot. So when I saw the name,
close, yeah.
yeah. It's like, oh shit, that's close. That's pretty funny, man.
Yeah.
It's wild. How long did it, once y'all figured out the instrumentation, y'all were going to be a trio, how long did it take to like work up those songs?
Well, I had come to visit New York for 3 weeks, and
Yeah.
we cut 2 songs, and then 4 months later I moved here.
Okay.
And so it took us a while, but it took us about a year to write all 8 of those songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have a nice studio to work from, because Richie has Thump Studios right
Cool.
here in Greenpoint.
Nice.
So we were able to just like book time, go in there, and like usually we had arranged music, but
Right.
we also got a little bit of time to like fuck around with parts
Yeah.
and do it in like a high fidelity situation. So it was
Yeah.
interesting and fun. Yeah.
I mean, I guess with the YOINK stuff, it goes back to a little bit of improvisation, like we were talking about. But I would think that part of it is just getting some of the grooves, and then it's a matter of you kind of deviating from some of that stuff, though it may be odd in and of itself, to then make it even more strange to go
Yeah.
off and come back.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, in this group, like the dudes, Richie and Justin, are very methodical. When we make a part, it's like set in stone. For me, I'm used to being in groups like that, but I'm used to having a little bit more leeway with things.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that stuff, we would just sit in a room and like play a loop, and then like I would like write some weird ass shit, and then I would eventually just have to memorize it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
So like every time we play, I try my best.
Really?
To do it. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, because I saw y'all live first with the Three Trap Tigers Bangladeshi show out there. Was it the Gateway? Was that the name of the venue?
Yeah, it was the Gateway. Yeah.
So I had no prior. I listened to y'all a little bit beforehand. I was like, oh, this shit's crazy. So then I went there and I watched it. And there were certain things that I remember hearing you play. And I went back to the record. I was like, he is actually playing that. So
For the most
congrats.
part, yeah.
Because on some of that stuff,
some of
I
it
was
changes,
like,
you know. But
oh my god, yeah. I mean, Jesus, don't go playing that shit note for note. You make yourself miserable,
dude. It's yeah. Like I remember one time, we just played a string of shows, and I had gotten really hammered the night before. And so it was like our second show doing like a little tour thing. And it was so hard. I had like a panic attack because I was like, what the fuck's the next part? But, you know, once you play it a little bit, like, and get a little used to it, you can kind of find your way. But I personally like to do a little bit more flexibility. But there's so many things going wrong that, like, if I change one thing differently,
I could see.
You know what I mean? Richie's like right on this part with me, and then Justin's like right here, and he's got a looper, and if he fucks it up, you know, like there's all these like things that are relying on me to like get my fucking head together, which is not always there. So. Right.
What are some of the other projects you got going on? I know you got a couple other things happening.
Yeah, so another thing that prompted me besides YOINK to come up here was INFIX. So it's this duo that I'm in with this guitarist. His name's Robert Catford.
Robert Catford?
Yeah, Robert Catford.
Not to be confused with cat food.
Not cat food.
Okay.
And he's a Canadian boy.
That would be awesome if his name was Richard, because then you call him Dick Cat Food.
Dick Cat Food.
Sorry, man. Sorry, Robert.
Bobby boy. No. Yeah, I had met him on the road. He was playing in this band called Junior Bob. They're kind of like a math rock duo.
Oh, cool.
And we had talked about it. I was like, yo, I think I'm coming up to the East Coast. And he's like, sick, dude. Let's like fucking do shit.
Yeah.
And we started just to like write stuff that's very out of the norm for us, you know. No more tapping, no like real traditional math rock stuff. We wanted to do something completely different. And so that's what INFIX is. It's like we pretty much use a computer to write and compose everything. So,
and then there's the challenge of, yeah.
So I'm in another situation where it has to be fucking right on. But it's so much fun. You know, Bob plays with a pick, but then he picks with all the other three fingers.
Weird.
So he's playing bass and like note guitar kind of stuff.
It's similar to the Charlie Hunter thing.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
That's it's crazy to see. And I think using a computer to write it really helped us to, you know, consolidate our ideas of what INFIX is supposed to mean, because INFIX is like injecting a word within a word. And so our record that's supposed to come out hopefully this month, we got to see what the fuck we're going to do with it. But
okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what the whole basis, and using we use like Guitar Pro to write, and that really helped us to like inject little ideas into each song from other songs. So if you listen to the record, like, I don't know how long it will take to get it, because we worked on this thing for like, holy shit, it took us 2 years to like record it, which just happened 2 months ago.
Wow.
But it's a crazy record. It's like it's way out there. It's way more jazzy of anything I've ever done.
Interesting.
But it's all very methodical.
Collaboration wise, what was the workflow of getting the both of you, your inputs into the program or whatever else? Were y'all both working separately within the same program and then converging ideas? Or
a lot of times, it honestly, even though like we like to think that we like we're very diligent on our own writing, we'd like sit in a room together on a couch and just computer jam. Like he'd write a part, and then he'd send it to me, and then I'd be like, okay, and then I would write a part. And a lot of times it was
like MIDI drums or like a MIDI.
So it's like so the way you write it is like you get to see a sheet, like a staff. So you're kind of working from that point of so I'm using like sheet music to write it, just like actual notes and stuff. And it was kind of like we would kind of just like, it's almost a form of improvisation, because when we were writing it, I was just improvising the part. Like he would send it to me and I would be like stream of conscious. I'd be like, yo, this, and I would hear it, and then I'd listen and be like, I'm done. Here you go. and then we'd send it off. Sometimes of course you edit or whatever, but it was very much stream of consciousness.
Wow.
But a lot of times it would start with either, like I would write like a bunch of beats, and I'd be like, these are really sick ideas because there's like this rhythm on top of this rhythm, like a 5 on the snare, while there's like a 3 on the bass drum, and Bob would either like follow me or not. He was just up to him,
Right.
So just whatever we thought sounded good, and so that's kind of where the workflow happened. And then the painful process of learning it, definitely we both had to learn it on our own a little bit, and then try to put it together and make the vehicle move.
Right.
And it was a crazy process. I recommend it.
Whoa, fuck.
It's fun.
Were you in a position where you had a practice space where you could go in with the music and literally like play along with it after the fact?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, you'd have to. I mean, I don't know if you got a V drum set up in your apartment so you're not driving your neighbors crazy.
Yeah. We luckily YOINK. Well, Bob was part of it for a while too. We had a nice practice space in Bushwick, so
cool.
And I used to live right next to it before
awesome.
I moved to Greenpoint.
Okay.
So we would do that. Sometimes we had to put the training wheels on where we'd have to like hook up the computer to a speaker.
Yeah.
And I would have like headbuds in, and we'd have to play with the MIDI just to get the feel of shit,
Jesus.
So it was very tough because we wanted to put ourselves in a position where we'd never played this shit before, and you can't do it naturally.
Right.
So I think in some ways we achieved that.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
That's fucking fascinating.
Yeah, it was fun.
I'm definitely interested to hear it. The outcome of such a crazy workflow. I mean, that sounds tedious, and God, it almost gives me a headache just thinking about it.
Oh yeah, it will. And definitely when you listen and you're like, oh yeah, that's a cool bass player. You're like, oh no, Bob's playing that shit while like live,
with all the guitar lines
together. Like there's no layers, there's no overdubs. It's wild, man.
Any other projects you got going on?
Yes, definitely. I am in this other one. This is where we were talking about free jazz, and like, this has kind of opened my mind a lot more to it. Especially being in New York City, like seeing like, like I see Kevin Shea play out, and like, he's kind of a crazy.
I'm not familiar with him.
He played. This might be a good reference. He played in this band called Storm and Stress, which is with the guitarist from Don Caballero, Battles guy.
Oh yeah. That's
kind of like at least the record that I've been able to like associate him with.
Okay.
But he's kind of just like a free jazz drummer, and he's got his, his style down, and he plays with other various free jazzers around the city.
Weird.
Anyways, there's this other band called Drunken Sufis. And that drummer, John Thayer. We were really good friends, and we decided we wanted to start like a group where we just kind of do like free improvisation and like let things go. Yeah. And he was playing with a saxophone guy, Craig Shanker. I hope I said his last name right.
Okay.
He plays sax. So we were like, yo, let's like fucking just do a show. Yeah. Like we hadn't even really like we jammed like once, and we're like, fuck it, let's just do it. And so
it's double drum, double sax.
Double drum, one sax.
Double drum, one sax.
Yeah, and he has like a looper and like a couple different effects that he uses sometimes. But we played around, we did some shows, and then we decided just to book some time at Thump, and we cut a record, and now we're just in the process of like figuring out how we want to release it. We don't want it to be super traditional free jazz where you just like the tape's rolling and like that 20 minutes that's the 20 minutes, and we're just gonna like release it like that. We want to like maybe add some processing to certain things, and kind of play around with effects, but also try to show like the true raw footage of us like just improvising in a studio together. So that's the other group. So hopefully, I don't know when the fuck that thing's coming out, but it was definitely fun. It was like a weird experience to be in a studio and be like, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna play. Oh my god,
that would give me anxiety. Yeah, it would totally give me anxiety.
Luckily, those dudes are so chill and awesome, and it was just like we're just gonna have fun, Like if something comes out, it comes out. If it doesn't, whatever. We're just here because we really want to play music and like push ourselves. So it was like a very fun experience.
All right, y'all, thanks for tuning in. I hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks to Mason for kicking ass, and be sure to check out the new YOINK record. Links will be in the description for that goodness. Feel free to check out his other projects as well. I will include links for that. And please check out the song Candy Rain at the tail end of this podcast off of YOINK's most recent album. Yosemite, Ohio, Indiana, Nebraska, Kansas, or what apparently it actually is, once again, Yankee Oscar, Indiana, November, Kilo. And I definitely had to read that shit. I would have certainly fucked that up. In any case, thanks again, Mason. Check all the stuff out. Keep ruling. If I don't see you no more in this world, I'll meet you in the next one. Crush, bang, boom!